Well, that was upsetting. Okay. Okay. Well, that was really upsetting. And they really did not get emotions in this game, but damn if they didn't manage to pull it off with Midna. Holy shit. That was legitimately upsetting. Midna's by far the best part of this game. Like, they fucked up just about everything else at some point or another, if not consistently throughout, but damn if they didn't do fucking amazing with Midna. I just... Wow. Are you guys hearing music through my mic, or is that just me breathing? Oh, I have the fan on. It's gonna ruin all the audio quality. Oh well. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't realize that we left the fan on when they left. Oh well. Wow. Not gonna lie, this game is really leaving a bad taste in my mouth.
Heya!
Go ahead and turn off the Elgato. Yeah, so that was Twilight Princess HD. I wonder if I should find some box art real quick and throw it up on the stream. Yeah. Oh, so what I was gonna say before, I'm gonna mute this. So what I was gonna say before the final cutscene came up, the bosses for this game were really bad. For the simple reason that you cannot use anything but the specific item you're supposed to use to defeat them. One of the things I'm really looking forward to in Breath of the Wild, and I hope they don't screw this up, from what we've seen, you can use whatever you want to fight the bosses however you want. And maybe some things are stronger than others and are more effective, and certain items will lead to certain tactics and strategies, and that's great. That's really good design. But it's not exclusively that item that you have to use to beat that boss. And I think that's a really important thing in game design, is that your items and your upgrades are not useless outside of one specific context. This game has honestly my favorite item in the series, the Dominion Rod, that I used for 5 minutes, broke half the time, and then just was completely useless from then on. I'm really disappointed that that Hyrule Castle didn't have like an axe statue or two, and I could use the axe statue to fight Ganon. Can you imagine how awesome that would have been? Like, oh, here you go. Here's some spinner tracks and some Dominion Rod statues, and let's have a few things you can shoot with arrows to make things happen. Or actually, no, they used arrows pretty well. I will give them that. The arrows were not completely screwy. They were not as good as they're going to be in Breath of the Wild, but substantially more usable than they've been in a lot of other Zelda games. So I will give them that. Arrows they did all right with. Bombs too. Well, no, bombs were severely underutilized. I mean, you can't use the darn things. Another Breath of the Wild improvement. You can just you set off the bombs when you want them to go off, and you don't have to worry about ammo counts for them. That's really good. That's really good. Yeah, bombs were underutilized in this game. There's were not a lot of places to use them, um, and the places they could be used were just very limited. Um, and again, not useful in combat at all. Bomb arrows, maybe, but again, half the time, if you set up bomb arrows, the enemies are just going to block them. You know, it's one of the things I like in my Zelda games is I can use my items in interesting ways. For example, um, as much shit as I give Ocarina of Time, and of course Majora's Mask, you hit an enemy with the boomerang or the hook shot, they're stunned. You know, it's an item and it's actually useful to you in your adventure. Um, Wind Waker with the grappling hook. Again, the boomerang stuns enemies, and some of them are immune. That's fine. That's fine. It doesn't have to be every enemy. It just has to be enough enemies. Um, you know, it's actually usable outside of okay, here's your puzzle context, or here's your one specific enemy in the game that's vulnerable to this item. You know, like good example is the claw shots in this game. I did mostly like how they were handled. I don't like how long it took me to get a second one. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Skyward Sword does that too. Skyward Sword does the you start with one and then you get another one, but it's like immediately after each other. It's like within the same dungeon. You start out your first item in the dungeon is one, and then you get like a second one right after or something like that. I'm not 100% sure, but uh, yeah. Um, but other than that, I think the claw shots were handled very nicely, except you couldn't use them in combat. Which again, I'm going to point out the grappling hook in Wind Waker. That was a fantastic use of the item. Um, it didn't do a whole lot, but you can grab loot off of the enemies, and then you can grab like an extra heart or two. And surprisingly, that helps a lot. Like being able to grab an extra heart or two off of enemies can be exactly what you need. So, what else bugged me? The swordplay. So many good moves. So little reason to use them. I I hate to say it, but those special swordsman moves from Ghost Ocarina of Time Link or whatever, freaking useless. Like there's some cool things, and I I guess I'll give the fatal draw. Um, I guess I will admit, okay, if you're willing to take a shit ton of damage from the Dark Nuts, which by the way, fuck those things. If you're willing to take a ton of damage from them, you can use the fatal draw to guaranteed get one hit on them. Um, but I mean that's a rant of its own. Fucking Dark Nuts, man. Like you can't do shit to them. They block everything. The first one that I fought in it on its own as the boss of the Temple of Time, that was good. I enjoyed fighting it and working out exactly how to attack it. Great. That's fine. I'll give it that. It was a good boss fight. It was well timed. The arena was good. There was enough hearts and stuff for it. It was great. Every single one past that, fuck those things. I'm so glad I looked up the advice threads. I I'll be honest, I didn't think the advice threads were going to work. I didn't think it was going to. I was thinking I was going to get bum advice, or like maybe they changed things between the original and Twilight Princess HD, because they do that. There were a lot of moments that seemed different from the advice I was seeing once I got rid of the blind requirement and started looking up advice. Um, but yeah, I'm so glad I looked that up because oh my god, those two things. Can you imagine? Like you saw the salt from just the final fight. Can you imagine that if I had the full salt from yesterday on top of two more salt mines from those things, and then the final fight on a dying battery? Which I'm kind of glad we had to cut last stream short because this gamepad dies after like about 2.5 3 hours. And that fight took a good like 45 minutes. 45 minutes. Um, I think. I don't know. I haven't been paying close enough attention to the time. Um, yeah, just. mm. And holy shit, that's a really good drawing. Sorry, Wii U main menu's open. I missed the name. Some dude did a Splatoon Miiverse post, a drawing of the splatter shot, and it's like super detailed. It's like, dang man, good on you. What was I saying? Something about the final battle. Oh yeah. Um, oh no, it was about Midna. They did a fantastic job with Midna in this game, and I mean, coming from someone who's never played Twilight Princess before this playthrough, she's phenomenal. But what I will complain about is mechanically she's not very good. Um, and maybe it's better in the original where you have to talk to her to change forms. But honestly, I think that would have made her more annoying. Mechanically, her lock-on stuff is not that great. Um, like that thing where you press the button and she jumps out and you jump at her, right? That was awful. Like there was fun sequences, don't get me wrong, but the way that it played out is just no. I'm sorry. You couldn't. You had to go a, and then when you get to the other side, you jump. And if it's a narrow plat, like once it's the end of the sequence, you've reunited with her. You're still so focused on mashing A that you jump again and probably jump off into the void, or all kinds of other problems. And then if you're too slow, you just fall off. No, just no. And you couldn't get that to trigger when you freaking wanted to. There were so many arbitrary ledges, and you're just like, hang on a second, I can fucking jump that with Midna. Midna, go up there. Let me jump to you. What the fuck, Midna? Come on. That was very poorly handled. It was an interesting idea, but no, it's bad. It did not work out well. I think that feature could have used a lot more polish. I think with a little bit more polish and maybe some like consistent rules on where you can place Midna, that could have been really cool. In fact, I think it could have been really cool to use that in combat. Um, I mean, as much flack as I probably would have given him for just straight up copying Navi and what's her face from Majora's Mask, um, I think honestly that would have made a little bit more sense. It would have been a little bit more engaging a use of Midna mechanically. Uh, hey, welcome to the stream, Fate Senpai. Um, I actually just finished Twilight Princess HD. Um, so I'm just kind of sharing my thoughts on the game. Have you played it before? Curious. Because again, this was a blind playthrough, so so a lot of this is just me comparing it to my own experiences and looking back at some of the things that they did right and some of the things they did badly. And some of the lessons I hope they learn when it comes to Breath of the Wild. Um, so yeah, I'd be very interested to hear your thoughts. I should see. Yeah, let me see if I can get some of my Discord people into the chat as well to discuss things. Let's see if I can get some of my Discord pals to hop in. Let's put Lime as a stream guest. Lime is Hero of Lime is one of my. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't have a lot of experience with people who actually grew up and played this game um, when it was new. I know my friend Lime, who I just mentioned, has played all of the Zelda games a lot, but I think this is one of his later entries to the series. Um, so you played the original version. Was that on the GameCube or the Wii? Um, and more to the point, how were the horse controls? That's honestly the thing I'm going to remember most about this game was some of the questionable control choices they made, and especially questionable control choices in segments that were mandatory to progress, specifically the King Baldwin fights, or at least the first two. I think also thinking back over the experience, I can see what they were going for, but I don't think they actually achieved what they wanted to. They that's fair. Sorry about that. That's totally fair. I complained about it. I bring it up in part because I've heard that the controls in the HD version here are a lot different from the original GameCube and Wii controls. So for me, the King Baldwin fights, especially the first one on the Bridge of Eldin, was hell on earth. In fact, if you look back into my highlights, you'll see like he is my nemesis now and forever. Um, I actually have a highlight I have to make out of was it last Thursday's stream or last Tuesday's stream? I think it was last Thursday's stream, where I fought King Baldwin and oh boy, yeah, I kind of went full Vegeta on him. I was like, he's just Lynx just lets him walk away. I'm like, excuse me, I wanted his head on a platter, but yeah, and just moments like that where you have to do this one really specific thing to defeat the boss or the enemy or whatever, but the controls just get in your way of doing that one thing. And it was really frustrating for me. Um, and then even just now in the final sword fight against Ganondorf, that could have been a lot more fun, except for he blocks absolutely everything. It's not, oh, I have to do this specific sequence of sword strikes to produce an opening I can use. It's just randomly try different attacks until one of them hits this time. And that was just a little bit, it rubs me the wrong way. Um, one of the, I don't know, one of the things I liked about Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, as boring as those fights were, it was always just shield, 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 wait for an opening, and then attack. As boring and frustrating as that is, it's consistent. Like long as I am on point and I am doing the right thing, I will accomplish what I need to accomplish. Whereas here, a lot of it seemed down to luck. Yeah, yeah. In this game in particular, the side hopping was like I side hop a lot in the 3D Zelda games. Again, Ocarina, Majora's Mask, Wind Waker. I side hopping is just my natural thing. Oh, really? Oh, I should have tried that. I didn't even think about the point where like all of my items that I had equipped, all of my good combat items just didn't work. They did nothing. Um, I immediately was like, okay, I have to play tennis. Okay, and I was, oh, the tennis. Oh, it was awful. It was so bad. I could hit the first ball and then I could not hit the second one for the life of me. Like anything past that, and I was hitting the button. I was trying to do the timing, and the timing window is so narrow. Ah, thank you for the follow. Thank you for the follow, man. I really appreciate it. Your flipsing awesome. But yeah, the timing on that is so precise, and I don't mind precise timing if it's consistent. Like if it's reasonable what you're doing. Like rhythm games are a perfect example. And there's plenty of cases where there's sections of games that feel like rhythm games. That's cool. I get that. That's great. The timing on that is very intuitive usually. And if not, it's usually fairly simple to figure out where you're going wrong and get it. But in this case, you're not pressing the B button in time with things. You're like pressing the B button like half a frame before the attack is released, and then you have to hope that the animation is fast enough to hit the thing. It was just like, really? Um, but yeah, and then thematically, I think they thematically it seemed a little bit much at times. Like they were trying really hard to be mature. Like in that way, like if you've ever like hung out around, you know, hung out and there's like a group of 12-year-olds and you're like 16 and they're trying to show how mature they are, and it's so very not. That's the whole vibe I got out of this game, especially the first three dungeons before you get the Master Sword, where you're stuck in the Twilight sections until you've done the Tears of Light. It really, they're really going over it. Oh yeah, the lag is really bad. for that. Yeah. Yeah, which is a shame because I actually really like the sword play system they have in the game. Like, if it weren't for the input lag and the window of opportunity being just too small, I think this could have been the best sword combat in the Zelda series. Um, but unfortunately, I love the special moves you get from Skeleton Link. It's great. They feel so fun to execute, and they look so cool, and they're so useless. It's really disappointing. I have. In fact, my next stream after this, I'm gonna be finishing up my first playthrough of that. That's. I don't think that's a blind playthrough. I think I've seen Wind Waker before, but I can't for the life of me remember if I've actually seen the final battle. So that might actually be another blind one. But yeah, I've played the Wind Waker HD. I got most of the way through, and then I got to the point where I'm wrapping up, getting the last of the heart pieces, getting ready for the final battle, that sort of thing. Um, that phase in every Zelda game, and I kind of just got bored with it. Um, I think I was trying for the Picto Box, and I just finally was like, "Yeah, no, I'm not doing this anymore." Uh, so I have a much delayed. Yeah, it's really good. It's really fun. Wind Waker, at least HD. I briefly played the Japanese version of the original Wind Waker on GameCube when it first came out. That was not so fun. Um, in fact, I think it suffered a little bit from the input lag problem we were talking about just a second ago. Um, and again, that might have been that console, that GameCube controller. It was because it wasn't mine, so I have no idea how old it was or how abused it might have been. Maybe he busted it playing Melee. I don't know. Um, but HD, man, that game feels good. Like, you play it, you have the gamepad in your hands. Everything just feels right. It's really good, and comparing directly to Twilight Princess, the Dark Nut fights in that game are perfect, like spot on. It feels like an actual sword fight. If you screw up, you get hurt, but it's your fault. It's not being cheap. It's not over relying on lag and overlong recovery animations to cheat you out of a fair fight. It's not the hardest thing in the world, but there is challenge to it. It's so good. It's so good. I really enjoyed Wind Waker, and I think like I said, the only reason I stopped was because of the collecting. Yeah, exactly. There is so much to do. Um, which does kind of bite it in the rear when it comes to the finishing everything up phase. If you just played through the dungeons, the side quests can be a bit much. But thankfully, most of the side quest stuff is available relatively early on, so you can just go off and do things on your own time. You don't have to. Like here, I had to wait until after I completed the City in the Sky before I could do a significant chunk of the collection roundup, and that was really frustrating. Um, and it ended up making my playthrough take, I think, longer than it needed to, honestly. But yeah, Wind Waker was really good about having things to do besides the main quest and letting you actually do them at a reasonable time. Yeah, The funny thing is, my whole time playing through this, because this was a blind playthrough, my whole time playing through this, I keep thinking, oh, this reminds me so much of Hyrule Warriors. And I'm like, this is really cool. I'm getting to see where this is from. Oh my god. I wish this was Hyrule Warriors. This would be so much more fun. I I'm not sure why Hyrule Warriors worked out so well, but I would love to see some of the sensibilities of Hyrule Warriors brought into the main series. Maybe not necessarily the elements, because you know the OC for the original characters for Hyrule Warriors are passable, but not really the best Zelda fare. But just the feel of it's so satisfying. The controls are perfect. You can do things in that game. Um, I think that's something very few Zelda games outside of Wind Waker and maybe Majora's Mask. Very few Zelda games give you that feeling of, okay, I have some degree of control over this world. When I want to use my items, when I want to swing my sword, when I want to raise my shield, it happens. And I'm not just waiting for the enemy to reveal their weak spot. I can actually do things besides that. Yeah, it's so much fun. And I recognize it's a little bit over the top for a main Zelda game, but I wouldn't mind having a few moments of that feeling. Um, Hopefully Breath of the Wild fulfills that. Because from what I can see, because of how open it is, you can set up some really cool scenarios. Like in the trailers featuring the battle against the Guardians, where you're lighting the field on fire, you jump up on your glider and you start shooting arrows. It's great. It looks like a lot of fun, and I really hope that it continues on in the example of Wind Waker. Um, I guess getting into a little bit of the game theory type of stuff. Um, there's combat where you're waiting for the enemy to do something, and there's combat where the enemy waits for you to do something. And then there's combat where it's kind of this interesting mixture of both. And I really hope that future Zelda titles find the right balance for that. Um, oh, I'm so excited for Breath of the Wild. That's actually the whole reason I decided to start doing Twilight Princess HD for this channel. For the sole reason of this right here. Um, I had messed up my windows. This right here. I had Twilight Princess HD. What I was gonna do is I was gonna do what I did for Wind Waker HD and wait for it to either go on sale or just like do a download, right? And then I find out about the amiibo functionality. Um, no, that's not right. I know I didn't really get into the stream of Twilight Princess HD until after the Breath of the Wild, but I think I got Twilight. I pre-ordered Twilight Princess HD. Why did it take so long to play it? I'm not sure, but yeah, Breath of the Wild is why I started playing this, was so I could get all of the hearts and all of the heart pieces. You see, there's the counter up on screen. Um, so I could get those heart pieces and then play through the Wolf Link dungeon without getting hit, so I'd have a perfect wolf for Breath of the Wild. Um, in general, or just Twilight Princess? Because I started Twilight Princess HD. I think it was the week after E3. Um, as far as streaming in general, I only really started in January of this year, late January, uh, early February. I started doing some Minecraft, and then later ended up transitioning to the Wii U, um, and doing things like Splatoon and Hyrule Warriors and such. Um, I've had the channel for a while, but I'd only streamed intermittently until January, February. Um, Started the regular streaming. Right now, I generally do Tuesdays and Thursdays in the evening, Pacific time, and then the occasional Monday stream, depending on whether or not I'm available. Oh, and then uh, it's not regularly, but whenever we can on Sundays, I show up on Abaddon Sin. He's one of the mods in this channel. I show up on his Pathfinder streams on Sunday mornings. But yeah, I'm relatively new to streaming, as a regular thing. Though I have been on Twitch for several years at this point. Uh, Forget who got me in. I think it was it was somebody Minecraft. I got into Twitch to watching Twitch through Minecraft, and then later on, people like Jack Lafear, Let's Play Anime, and who was the third one? Oh, Blind IRL. They're the ones who kind of inspire me to keep going. Oh, and Jesse Quill. Oh, I can't forget Jesse Quill. But yeah, they're the ones who they're the ones whose streams and communities really convinced me that I wanted to start doing this more and get into streaming seriously, and doing things like this blind playthrough, um, which has actually been a lot of fun. As much as I gripe and complain about the game, um, it was fun getting to play through the game blind, and share that experience with everybody else. Yeah. All right. I actually think I'm going to call it a night myself. So for the sake of the VOD, let me just pull up what we will be doing tomorrow evening. It will be Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD, and that'll be just a quick completion. So yeah, thank you for coming by, and I will see everybody tomorrow. Catch you guys then.